What if I told you that the President of the United States was once a boy who could barely speak? A boy who grew up not in power, not in wealth, but in the shadow of silence, fear, and relentless struggle. This is the story of Joe Biden. And it's not just his story. It could be yours. Joe was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, a hard-edged town built on coal mines, steel mills, and the dreams of working-class families. His early years were filled with the warmth of family, but not the comfort of stability. His father, Joe Sr., once had a good job, a respectable life. But then came the collapse, a job loss, a business failure, and with it, the slow bleeding of hope. Suddenly, the boy who ran through backyards now watched his father leave home in silence, coat over his shoulder, looking for work in other towns. Some nights, Joe would pretend to be asleep so he wouldn't have to see the pain in his father's eyes. He didn't understand it all, but he understood enough. They were poor. Not the kind of poor where you skip a vacation, the kind of poor where you skip meals. But poverty wasn't the only shadow haunting him. From a young age, Joe suffered from a severe stutter. Words would get caught in his throat like stones. Every time he tried to speak in front of a class, his voice would twist and stumble. His tongue betrayed him, and his classmates didn't let him forget it. They called him names, mocked his pauses, imitated his stammer, laughed, loud, cruel, unforgiving. One teacher even asked him, "Mr. Bubba Biden, are you going to answer the question today or tomorrow?" That kind of humiliation doesn't leave scars, it leaves fire. Joe didn't scream back. He didn't fight. He went home and stared into a mirror. And with a flashlight in hand, his make-believe spotlight, he began his silent war. He recited Irish poems, Shakespeare, speeches from presidents long gone, over and over, over and over. Each word was a battle, each sentence a mountain. He was trying to become fluent in his own voice. His mother, Catherine Eugenia Biden, a woman with the spirit of iron, told him something that would become his compass. "Joey, don't let anyone define you. You are stronger than your fear." As the years passed, the stutter didn't vanish overnight. But something else grew stronger, his will. Joe became a man who would rather walk through fire than walk away. In college, he wasn't the smartest kid in the room, but he was the most relentless. He studied late, worked part-time jobs, washed windows, dug gardens, anything to pay tuition, anything to move forward. He got into law school, barely, graduated, barely, and then, in an unexpected twist of fate, he decided to run for local council, and won. But no one expected what came next. At just 29 years old, with no big donors and no political dynasty behind him, Joe Biden ran for the U.S. Senate. The establishment laughed. He's too young, too soft, too smart. It was seen as a mission destined to fail. But the boy who couldn't speak stood tall and spoke louder than them all. He beat the odds. He won. Just 6 weeks after his election victory, on a cold December day, the phone rang. There had been a devastating car accident involving his family. His wife Nelia and their baby daughter didn't survive. His 2 young sons, badly injured, clinging to life in the hospital. The world didn't pause. Politics didn't care, but Joe did. He thought about walking away forever. But instead, he did something no one expected. He took the oath of office as a U.S. Senator beside his son's hospital bed. From that moment on, he became something more than a politician. He became a father with a mission. He took the train every day from Delaware to Washington, D.C. and back so he could tuck his boys in at night. He gave speeches in the Senate during the day and read bedtime stories by night. He kept going, through heartbreak, through failure, through whispers that he'd never make it. He ran for president and lost, then ran again and didn't succeed. The world moved on, but Joe kept going. Then, in 2020, the world was shaken by a pandemic, a divided nation, a wave of uncertainty. And in that moment, the boy who once stuttered, the boy who once watched his father cry behind closed doors, the boy who once stared into a mirror with trembling lips and burning eyes, became the President of the United States. He didn't inherit power. He earned it, word by word, setback by setback, step by step. So when they say you're not good enough, when they say you weren't born for this, when they laugh at your voice, your dream, your background, remember Joe Biden. Because greatness doesn't start with perfection. It starts with pain, with silence, with struggle. And if Joe Biden can rise from stutter to Senate, from tragedy to triumph, from whispered prayers to presidential power, then so can you. Because the voice that cracks today might just lead the world tomorrow. Parity.